Hello gamers, my name is KK and this is the series where we god boost all the heroes in BDD6 to find out how good are they in the later stages of the game. Today we have a few rules that we will use in order to test the hero Adora. Adora is one of the stronger heroes, and the main intrigue of this video is gonna be, can Adora actually beat Churchill? Their rivalry will be decided today, because the criteria that we use to evaluate who is better and who is worse is how many out of 8 million pops that the heroes will deal, heroes can deal up to around 120, can the hero, instead of all the towers around them, deal. So, for example, if the ice tower that we will be using deals like 1 million damage, it means that the hero dealt 7 million damage. And the score of Churchill was amazing, and if it's not number one, it is in the top for sure, because his score was 7.9 million pops out of 8.1 million pops. So, can Adora actually beat him, or will she struggle and lose to the Churchill? The rules that we are using to evaluate and the conditions. Look, first, the hero is the main damage dealer, but we are allowed to use the following towers. Ice Tower 0 to 5 to stun the blimps. Next, the Glue Gunner 0 to 5 with the same purpose. Perma Brew Alchemist 500, 520, doesn't matter. Then we are allowed to use the villages, of course, because they are non-damage towers. All the support towers that don't deal damage are allowed, it's obvious. We are allowed to use the Overclock or Hyper Boost. It's essentially the tier 5 of Overclock, and it's better. We are also allowed to use the Submarine 500 in order to make the ability cooldowns shorter. And this is it. Also, we can sometimes deviate from these directions if the hero can't pop the certain bloom types, etc. But Adora, when she has MAB, she can pop pretty much all bloom types. We are allowed to buy the hero levels if we need to. So, for example, I'm gonna be farming quite hard on all of these tests, and if we need to level up the hero, we will level them up using the cash that we earn from these farms. Okay, these are the rules. I know it's slightly complicated, but it is very important to set those in the very beginning so that we can test all the heroes in the same conditions and to see who is the best. So basically, the hero that has the closest amount to 8.1 million pops is the best hero in the late game in terms of DPS. Of course, we are not counting the Azili's ability with the bats, because Azili is the best late game hero as the round progresses, because, for example, she can pop the bat on round 100 and she can pop the bat on round 300 with the same efficiency, and this way her pop count will be the biggest out of all the other heroes. So it's pretty simple. She has the percentage based increase in damage, but all the other heroes are different. So we are testing, this is why we are testing up to around 120. Most of the heroes probably can reach this point, but we don't know for sure. Okay, and today I'm gonna tell you the story about the Istanbul, but it's not gonna be the continuation, it's gonna be the different one. The last time I told you let's call it overview of Istanbul, and now I'm gonna be telling you the story of how I came there for the first time. So, it was, just for those who don't know, Istanbul is a pretty famous city. It is the biggest city in Turkey, I'm pretty sure, in terms of population for sure. And it is a very interesting city that is located on the border between Europe and Asia, in the section of the map that is called Bosphor. This is the water canal, or how to call it, that is basically the water area that connects the Black Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. Istanbul is the trade city, and it is very diverse, I would say. Since Turkey is an Islamic country, Istanbul has both the Western vibes as well as the Islamic vibes, and it's a very interesting merge between those two that makes this city a very unique experience. So the first time I went to Istanbul, it was, I think, at least 8 years ago or so. I was 12 or 13 back then, and basically my interests were very similar to yours because my interests back then were to play games and to slack as much as possible and not to study the school stuff. So I was not as interested, but Istanbul still had some stuff that could capture my eye and keep me interested in it. Also, the important thing, we are using the overclock for round 63 because Adora wouldn't be able to destroy this round otherwise. Okay, so the first thing that I mentioned is the huge mosques in the center, in the downtown, you could say, of this city, because there are two main mosques there. One is called Hagia Sophia, the one I told you about in the previous video. If you didn't see it, check it out. It's pretty interesting. And the other one is called Blue Mosque. Usually in the pictures that you are seeing about Istanbul on the web, you're gonna see the Blue Mosque because on the sunset it looks pretty good and there are a lot of good angles that you can take a photo of this mosque. But it's pretty darn difficult because it's always so crowded and it's not easy to take the photos like you're gonna see in the Instagram or wherever else you're looking for it. So these mosques are huge. Like how to compare it? I'm pretty sure they can space at least a couple of thousand people inside. The interesting thing about the Hagia Sophia is that it's much older and it's bigger, but the Blue Mosque has I would say it has the better design, because I'm pretty sure it was restored from the old blueprints, you could say, and it looks very new right now. It has the stairs that lead up to the main area where you can enter the mosque itself. For Blue Mosque, inside is a very small thing. Like when you are looking at it from the side, you're thinking, wow, this is gonna be massive. But at the end of the day, it's a very small building inside. Whereas the Hagia Sophia is enormous. You're looking at it from the outside and think, okay, no, it could be big, it could not be big, but when you enter it, it's huge, bro. One of the biggest buildings I've ever been to in my life. It's very tall. I would say at the very least 20 meters tall ceiling, and also it is very wide and like the extremely spacious room. It was an unexpected turn of events because I thought, judging by the outside, this was the ugly one, but from the inside it was very, very cool. Then, what else was pretty interesting there? This huge mosque is connected to the old Sultan palace, and there were a lot of interesting stuff there in terms of jewelry. So you could see there a lot of gold and the different jewelry, and the thing that I remembered most was the Sultan's hat. For those who don't know, Sultan is basically the title of the king in the Islamic countries. It's not anymore, but it's used to be the title, and you could see them in the serials such as Roxolana, etc. It's just the name of the king in these areas. For example, like in old Russia, it is the king title is knyaz, or Tsar, it's similar thing, and here it is a Sultan. So, Sultans really lived very exotically. It's pretty funny because back then the discrimination against women was a really big problem. It still is a problem right now, but in the first world countries not as much. Back then women didn't have any right of voice, like they were basically the babysitters and baby makers. Ought to be like the puppets and dolls of men. It's a sad reality, but it is the human history, so we should know. And these sultans had the harems, and their harems were massive. And it's very, very interesting thing because look, I'm pretty sure they had like from 30 to 100 freaking wives. First, I myself don't understand the logistics of this. So, of course, their understanding of term wife is severely different from the modern understanding of this word. But even though they don't spend much time with their wives, etc., still, it's so it seems so to me so impossible to I can't use these words, okay, to get close with all the wives of this guy. So it's a bit strange, and I'm pretty sure that the sultans had the preferences. So pretty much he was hooking up with like it's my guess, because I'm pretty sure the sultans were hooking up with the like 5 of the wives, and the rest of 25 wives were just sitting there envious. It's pretty dumb system, but maybe it is supposed to feed ego of the sultans, that they are like, because usually these kings were, they, as they labeled themselves, they were the similar to apostles, like the people who represent the God's will, like the highest being on earth. And maybe they thought that even though they will get close with only select few, they are supposed to have a lot of wives or something like that. Because to me this seems pretty strange at this stage. But we are not here to judge, we are just thinking and making our funny conclusions about the human history. So they were filthy rich and they had a lot of wives. Like it's the anime dream of all the weeps. But in anime, usually harems are, I would say it's like the dream, but they never get together at the end, most of the times. Here it's not the dream, it was the actual reality. But you know, the thing about, okay, we shifted from Istanbul to harems, but it's an interesting discussion. So I have been thinking, like, for real, will it be good, like, if we had the harems in our modern lives? What are the pros and cons of this? And my conclusion was it would be very bad, because harems are a pretty dumb thing. When people were much dumber, like 5 centuries ago, 10 centuries ago, when most of the people were illiterate, when like 5% of people could read or even write, and it was a mess. But back then, people didn't have the needs such as of the needs of the modern people. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the need to get recognized in terms of the personality, the needs of getting recognized, for example, such as a businessman, such as the person who did something good for their country, etc., etc. So usually in the modern day, we strive to make a difference, and because there are so many people in the world right now, almost like 7.5 billion, it is fairly difficult to stand out. And most of the time, our current motivation is to stand out and be interesting. And back then, it was slightly different. It was similar, but not in this way. And women were fine with being just a part of mechanism, because harem is not something where you can promote the romantic relationship. Romantic in terms of love, like it's just not the part of this kind of relationship, because harem is the best way to describe it is just the mechanism, because it's basically one man hooks up with a lot of women, and these women are forced to share this one man. And in the modern worldview, it's pretty darn stupid and humiliating to those women, because maybe they are choosing it for themselves, maybe they like this lifestyle, but if you ask most of the modern people, like men usually like to think that harems are cool because they get to hook up with a lot of women at the same time, and they are married also, so they don't need to cheat, etc. But think about this in the reverse way. So what if you had one wife and she had 5 husbands, for example, so you included, so there are 4 other men that you need to share your loved one or with, and this way it suddenly becomes not as interesting for us, because nobody wants to share their loved ones in the sexual way. And of course it's humiliating, of course it's you immediately begin to think, okay, why the fuck does she need more husbands? Am I not good enough? Or boyfriends, doesn't matter. So why does she need more of them? And women think basically the same thing. When you want to have like harem of multiple women, first it's an insult to your girlfriend, but secondly it's also impossible in terms of the logistics, because you won't be able to give enough attention to all of them, and basically it will lead to all of those potential wives to hate each other and be the competitors to get your attention. So harem is good for anime and fairy tales, but it's very, very bad in the real life. This is why there are not as... I'm pretty sure there are like very, very few harems, even in Islamic societies, in the modern world, because this model just doesn't work. Okay, it's pretty interesting discussion, how it shifted. Tell me your thoughts about this, because I've been thinking about this for quite some time, because in anime, harems are like one of the most prevalent things, and many people desire, like in their secret mind, to have harem of their own, but in reality it's not as fancy. Tell me your thoughts about this, and guys, press the like or dislike button right now, depending on what you think about this video, and see ya in the next one. Subscribe now.